Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry. What's up, you guys? Me again, Yegi here with the Yegi Project. So it's almost been 1 year since we officially committed to and launched the Yegi Project. I have Elizabeth, my producer behind the camera. We're gonna do kind of a fun impromptu episode of just recapping about everything that we learned from our guests, from all the books, all the interviews, everything that we learned throughout this whole year and how far we've came. A lot of times in the past, I've kind of just kept going and going and going, and I never really stopped to celebrate milestones. And I think that's one thing I've learned along the way, that it's super important to kind of pause and give yourself credit for how far you've come, even if it may not seem it's a long way, right? So my example is this podcast, and it's been 1 year. Initially, when you think about 1 year, like, well, that's a long time. What have I really accomplished? How many followers, let's say, or how many listeners do I actually have? But is it really that statistic that matters? Or is it how far you've come as a person? Have you grown within what you're doing that matters, right? It's just a little thing to think about. And that's kind of what I got thrown into right now with my producer to do. I'm like, what did we do this whole year with the podcast? So we decided we're just going to recap, see everything we learned. She's literally going to read each episode, and I'm going to try to remember back and see what was the lesson from that and what we were going through at that time to have that episode for the Yegi Project. It has officially been 1 year. We're able to solidly commit to it. We had seasons. Now we graduated to weekly episodes, so we're not taking a break. We're even doing some live coaching for people to listen to. So again, these are things I am acknowledging that we're doing that we can celebrate, right? And again, that's important too, because it keeps us going. It encourages us to literally inch our way to where we want to be. And that's super important, because one other thing that has really stuck with me, I feel like, with the podcast as I was doing research, is that exponential growth. That growth in the beginning, literally inches, millimeter away, every little tiny millimeter, we're climbing tiny bit. And then once we climb enough, the exponential growth really takes off and we really see huge progress. And I've learned this and had this happen to me in a lot of the projects that I've worked on. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at with the podcast now. I feel like for this whole year, we've really been working to put episodes out there to really engage and grow and teach and do all of that ourselves. But this is where I think it's going to come, that little tiny millimeters that we've been doing. Now it's going to take off and have our exponential growth. So that's a reminder for myself and for our listeners. So if you are working on anything, just keep in mind, initially it takes a lot of work and you have to kind of put systems in place. You have to do schedules and plans, and you have to maybe sometimes force yourself. There's a learning curve. There is a motivation curve, because initially everything's hard until we get going, but it does get easier and easier and easier, and then that's when we'll see the huge growth. So keep going if you are kind of in the same boat as we are, and hopefully you'll accomplish everything that you want to accomplish. With that said, let's really go and recap and see everything that we've learned and who we've interviewed this whole year. Okay, so you said you had a question. What's your question, producer Elizabeth?
So many people might not know this, but when we were first recording the first few episodes of the podcast, you were almost 9 months pregnant. So,
I forgot. Yeah. I even had a baby throughout this journey.
Your baby was born the day the podcast premiered, but what made you decide at that moment to start the podcast? And do you remember how you were feeling? It was just so much going on.
Yes, I feel like a lot was going on, honestly. And again, when there's a huge change in your life, like having a baby, I was a little bit on bed rest. I was taking it easy too. I also had a lot of time to kind of think. And almost, I want to say, the past 10 years of my life, I kept on asking the question of, what do I really want in my life? What do I really want? What's my purpose? purpose. Like something inside me has always told me I have this grand purpose of changing the world. Like, I don't know, it's a weird voice that came to me. Like, why? Can't I just chill? Like, let me live. But no, something inside me has always told me you have to do something to change the world. Again, I don't know why. Like, is it God? Is it the universe? Like, who planted this in me? Okay, anyways, I'm joking. But literally one day, that's like, I just felt like that was my purpose. But for the longest time, like I want to say over 10 years now, I've been trying to find that thing. Like, what is my thing? I like to think I'm good at, you know, being an entrepreneur, running a business, which is great, but it can also kind of be maybe small for changing the world, right? And then I know I'm like really good with artsy stuff with my hands, but then I was like, okay, so how do I kind of bring everything together? How do I really reach more people to help more people? Because again, for the longest time, I've known that I want to live the life that I want to live. Like, I want to have the best life possible, and I know it's possible because it's in my control. Again, this took like 10 years of working on myself, doing self-help books, literally like working on all my weaknesses, but I've came to that conclusion that I can have the exact life that I want, and I can always progress and grow and have whatever I desire, right? As long as I work hard at it, it'll happen. So that's kind of the motto I've been following and doing, and everything's been working out. But I was like, how great would it be if everybody did what they loved, earned money doing what they loved their lives? Like, we would just be a happier human beings, right? It'll be a better world. So I was like, okay, maybe this is my mission. Maybe like I just need to help people get to a place where they love their life and they love their job, their work they're doing, what they're contributing, and like that we're going to change the world. It's going to be a happier place. So that's when it really sparked. I was like, what am I waiting for? Like, what am I waiting for to get started on this? Am I waiting for more money? Am I waiting to retire? What am I waiting for to really like work on my mission? And then it hit me like, okay, we can definitely commit to a podcast at least. Let's get started, right? I coach people and I tell people there's no perfect time. Stop waiting. Like, do what you have to do. You just have to get started. It sparked in my head like, okay, we just have to get started. We have to commit. Then I talked to Elise. I was like, okay, Elise, we need to commit to this podcast. Like, if you don't commit and you don't hold me accountable, it's probably not going to happen. So this is me committing. Make sure we do it. Let's schedule guests. I'm going to be forced to do it if it's on our calendar. That's kind of how it started. I was like, okay, no more waiting. We're just going to do it. And no pressure. As much as we can, we scheduled it in, but there was no pressure if we need to do X amount of episodes each week. This. Because, of course, I was going to have a baby. I knew things were going to be busy. I knew we already have a full load of running the, you know, business side of the business that makes, that pays our paychecks. So I knew this was going to be something fun, but we were like, okay, let's at least commit to it once a week so we get the ball rolling. That was a super long answer to that question, but that's how it was. It was just like, what are we waiting for? Let's just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. If we don't have to have anything crazy, let's just get some equipment, Google whatever we need, and let's get going. But I think that was it. I was like, okay, it was kind of a cool date too. We premiered it on 2/2/22. I ended up having my baby on that same day too. That wasn't really planned. Her actually due date was Valentine's Day. She came early. But it was cool. So it was like a new beginning, a new chapter, and now it's been almost a year and I'm still not sleeping very well because of the other baby, the human baby, but the podcast has been great. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Since you started the podcast, you officially opened your lash services and everything.
Oh, yes.
And in the first season, you did all solo episodes, which was like the first official season. Yeah. So we did Who Am I and Why Did I Start the Yegi Project, How to Build Confidence Without Success, How to Deal with Disappointment in Business. So many valuable topics, I think. So looking back at some of those topics, like how to build and retain your beauty clientele, how do you stand out in a saturated market? Do you remember recording any of these episodes, and do you still use those same?
Yes, that's a great question. And wow, it's like almost, again, back down memory lane. Yes. So I guess when we started too, that's when I was thinking to officially start our services back. So we took 2 years break from our services, doing the actual eyelash extension services on clients. So now I didn't take a break from business. We were still teaching classes, selling the products, doing all that good stuff. But we took a break from the services because with COVID and having 2 tiny babies, it was just a lot for me to handle and manage. And COVID just really was like, okay, no, close their business, open your salon, close your salon, open your salon. And we lost a lot of clients. We lost a lot of service providers. People were doing stuff from home. So salons weren't able to function. So it was just a mess. Anyway, so we had decided to close at that time, and we were focusing on the education and product sales of the business. But I along the way too, as I kind of gained more control over, I guess, my life and my new balance with being a mother of 2, and I thought that, okay, let's bring back the services, because that was another avenue of income for the whole Yegi Beauty Corporation. So we decided to do that. But with that came a lot of kind of fear and doubt as well. Honestly, like a lot of times I know I'm fearless. A lot of times I know I don't have doubt. I believe in myself and the team that I've built. I know that, whatever I put my mind to, we're going to be able to accomplish it. But with having kind of a long gap break from it, and again, kind of being at a different emotional state, or with just having a baby, like some of those fears and doubts creeped in at times. So then I had to kind of go back and remember how to kind of get past that. So we did a lot of episodes of how to build clientele again, how to face your fears, just a lot of rebuilding, I want to say. And it was almost a good reminder of when I had first started being my own boss or starting my corporation, and that was in 2015. So it had been a long time, and it was a good way to kind of recap and remember. And one good lesson from that was that, if we don't keep working on ourselves, if we don't keep educating ourselves, we will stay stagnant, or we will kind of maybe even go backwards. So with kind of doing the podcast again and trying to remember these important topics, it was a good reminder for me to be like, hey, some of these things that you were really good at when you started the business and were able to grow it and be so successful, you've kind of lost your way. So with the Yegi Project, let's work on yourself. Let's tell your listeners what they can also work on so we can all grow together. So I think it's been great. And honestly, knock on wood, it hasn't been that long. I think a total of 3 official months, or maybe a little bit more, that the services have been back and running, but we are doing okay. We have 4 lash techs. We're again not super fully booked, but we are definitely growing at a nice steady pace. I think the moral of the story is, if you need to take a break from something, if you really know you need the break, it's better to take the break and you can pick up where you left off. Maybe a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. So make sure you're listening to your well-being, because ultimately, if we're not well in our mental health, in our physical health, then nothing's going to be good around us. And it worked out. Again, I was afraid when I had to close it. I was like, I'm going to lose a lot of business. I'm going to lose a lot of clients. I did, but at the end of it, it wasn't a big deal, 2 years down the line in the grand years of life or business. 2 years is not that long. So it was okay. So we took a break from that part and we took it back. I think that's kind of where those episodes were intrigued to, and what our listeners were asking for too, because we do work with a lot of people who are starting their business and are afraid and don't know kind of what direction to take in order to grow and really make it a profitable business, so they can quit their 9-to-5 if that's what they want to do.
So our most popular episodes were actually how long it takes to build a habit and how to get rid of bad habits in 2022.
I love that one. I think 2 other things that while I was doing my research and my studies, and to really make sure I'm giving you guys really good, helpful, practical advice on the Yegi Project, the 2 main things that stood out to me that helps people how to be successful, really the core part we need to work on is our habits and our confidence. Like it sounds so simple now, and it's like, oh yeah, duh, that kind of makes sense. Or maybe that's how I feel now. But if you're hearing this for the first time, I want you guys to go back and listen to those full episodes, because if we really get good at making good habits and knowing how to get rid of bad habits, ultimately we're unstoppable, right? Because then we can really do whatever we need to do and stop doing what we don't need to do in order to be successful. So habits was huge, and I think I've known this, but it really clicked and came together while doing the podcast. Since then, I think one good book that stood out about habits is called Tiny Habits. Few things that I really learned and I really practice and preach and teach my students now too is really, in order for us to build good habits, we need to be able to break it down into small habits and work on it little at a time and get positive feelings from it. So if I do something that makes me feel good, human behavior is going to tell me that I want to do it again because it made me feel good. But if I do something and it doesn't make me feel good, then it's not going to make me want to do it again. So when we break certain big things that we want to get done into small bits and make tiny habits and build on that, that's when it's going to be more likely for us to have good habits. Okay. And another way to kind of ink our good habits is to tie it on to something that you're already doing. So for example, every morning you brush your teeth, right? So if you want to add a new habit to it, let's say 4 push-ups, 5 push-ups, the brushing teeth is going to be your anchoring habit. So that's kind of your alarm clock. When you brush your teeth, right after that, you do 5 push-ups, right? So that was one other little trick that I learned from that book. But if you think you can work on your habits, I definitely recommend that one. And again, we're all a work in progress, so don't be so hard on yourself. Work on building good habits and get rid of bad habits. One thing that I think I remember of how to get rid of bad habits too is make it harder. So a simple one that we've probably heard too is if we have really bad eating habits, we eat a lot of junk food, a lot of sweets, throw away those things. Don't bring it in your home or put it on top of the fridge. Literally lock it up in a cabinet where you can't reach it and access it too easily. Because if it's not too easy to get to, more likely you're not going to get to it, okay? That was one other thing too. And one bad habit a lot of people have too, I'll share that one too. Again, this is from the book, is kind of spending too much time on our phones, like being stuck to our phone, because that's easy, it's fun, we can scroll, we get satisfaction. And people usually do that even in the mornings, right? When they wake up, they waste like 30 minutes to an hour in their morning when they could be maybe getting ready, getting in a mini workout, even eating breakfast, compared to just scrolling on our phones, and we have to rush to work. So one thing with that too, again, is make it harder to get to your phone. So instead of you being stuck in your bed and you grab your phone, your alarm rings, it's so easy to scroll, you put your phone far away from you, and you get a regular alarm clock instead. So once the alarm clock rings, you're gonna get up and shower, make breakfast, right? We can if that's what you want to do. Or you're going to, when you hear your alarm clock, you're going to get up and you're going to go on a quick 10-minute run. So whatever you need to do, you need to almost, it's like how we prep ourselves to set ourselves up for success or for failure. And if it's something we really want, we can definitely accomplish it. We just need to find ways and find tools that works for us.
The next episode I want to actually talk about is one of our newer episodes. We did a business coaching session recorded live for our viewers. So what was that process preparing for that and finding people for that?
Honestly, again, I think a lot of my thoughts come to me when I run. Maybe that's my little secret, and it helps because I think when I run, I just clear my head. I'm in nature. I usually do it outside, and I get a lot of these crazy ideas, and I just write it down quickly because I'm probably gonna forget. But that thought kind of came again when I was running. I was like, oh, how cool would it be if we interview somebody live? Because not only that one person would benefit from it, but a lot of people would benefit from it. Because sometimes people are afraid to get the coaching sessions and work one-on-one or actually call and get help, but they will listen. So if somebody else is asking, they will listen and follow, and at least they'll get some benefit from it, even if it's not 100% relatable to them. So we kind of started that segment of it, but yeah, it came to me, and initially I was like, oh, I don't know who's gonna want to go on live and have people listen in into their lives. And then I was like, well, a lot of people do reality shows. Why not? Let's give it a shot. And it's a free coaching session where they're gonna pay hundreds of dollars to get this advice. Might as well get it for free. All they have to do is, be okay with other people kind of listening in on their session. And it worked out. It was great, honestly. It was at first hard kind of to forget that people are listening or the cameras are on, and to really just focus on the session itself. But I think it's still a work in progress. That's still something new we started with the podcast. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. And my take on it was that, okay, there's just so many people I can coach on the clock because I have limited time and hours in the day. But if we do it like this, more people can benefit. And my goal is to reach and help as many people as possible. So I think I'm looking forward to making that more of a regular thing. But now this reminds me, another thing we had started, actually. I will tell you guys a failure. But I think it's just a temporary failure. We can hopefully try to work on it and get back on track with it, though. But on Mondays, we had started doing a live kind of questionnaire or live just like chat with Yegi, ask Yegi on Instagram, and I could see that being really cool. Honestly, I think I give good life advice. People always ask me about life advice. I think hopefully because maybe I have my life together, they're like, oh, what would you do? And a lot of people tell me sometimes I'm in their head. They always ask once they've been around me for a few months or a year, they're like, you're always in our head now. We always think, okay, what would Yegi do? So anyway, so we thought that would be cool to start that again, to reach more people, not only the local people who work with me in our office or in the salon, to be able to again influence, hopefully good influence on other people's lives, because I'm all about positivity, sharing happiness, abundance, working together, like all that stuff, and I want to share it as much as I can. I think like that's my thing, that's my calling, and I need to share it. But we failed at it. But I have a good excuse, and I'm gonna say an excuse. It's not a reason, because it is. I do believe everything's an excuse. If we really want to, we can do it. But my excuse was that we started the salon services, and since I have to work on a lot of Saturdays because I'm overlooking the services, still as people are training, I'm off on Mondays, or I gave myself off on Mondays. So and our lives were scheduled on Monday, so then we kind of forgot about it. But again, this is an excuse, but we're human. I'm human. I acknowledge it. It's kind of in the back burner of one of those things that, okay, we'll find a way to schedule it in once we have a little bit more room to breathe. But yes, so sometimes some things, some plans don't work out, and I think that's totally okay. Honestly, I'm not really mad about it. I'm just aware that this is something I want to do, and we failed at it at the moment, but that's okay. We can try again later. But to analyze it, just because I want you guys to do that when you're working on things that you feel like you want to do but you fail at it, we need to think about and analyze, okay, why is this not working, right? I kind of gave you guys my answer, or my excuse for me is because I changed my schedule around, but I forgot to reschedule that into my calendar. So if we really pay attention to the things that we want to get done that are not getting done, we will find a way to make sure they happen. But a lot of times we are hard on ourselves and we're mad at ourselves for not doing something, but then we don't take the time to sit down and figure out, okay, but why is this not working? Do I need to change something else around, as in my schedule, or do I need to find a way to maybe make changes to what I'm trying to get done for it to work with my schedule to fit my day? So I think that's more healthy, instead of just feeling like, okay, I'm failing at this thing. No, instead we find a way to either make it happen or change whatever we're failing at where it fits your desires. Because if there's something that we really want, we're going to do it.
So one of my favorite episodes or guests that you record with was Kira from the Passion Center. And okay. I know you're going to connect with her soon as well. I think tomorrow you have a call with her. You'll probably already have that call with her by the time this is out. But she talked about turning your passion into a business, and
I love that.
After she burned out,
talking to.
Yeah, after she burned out in the corporate world, she created the Passion Center. and kind of added logic to passion, which usually isn't a very logical
Business
thing.
to passion,
yeah. So how it affects health and all of that. So can you talk more about that episode? What you maybe learned?
Yes, honestly, I love that episode too. And she's always kind of in the back of my head too. Somebody I really want to work with more and closely. Just talking to her, you can really tell she took the time to study and research and practice what she's talking about. And I think that's what really stood out to me about her. She's not just one of those people who just kind of like throw information at you and you can tell like they're not really sure what they're talking about. But when I talk to her, I really feel like I connected with her. And again, her message, her mission is in a way similar to mine. So I think that's also why we connected with her. But she wants to bring passion into the work field, or help people find their passions, because nowadays a lot of people are not living passionately, and she defines it differently. I hope I don't mess this up. One thing I do remember that stood out to me too when I was on another Facebook live thing that she was doing is somebody that's pretty successful in life. He has his career together. He's looking to find like passion, that excitement in his day-to-day. And he's like, I think he was a professor too, actually. And he was just really struggling to feel that excitement, that passion that he's like, I know it exists because I felt it at one point in my life in the day-to-day work that I was doing. But what is it? Like, how do I find it within my career? So I think that's what she really helps people do as well when she's coaching and working with people, is to help them find kind of their happiness as well within what they're doing. I think a lot of people can kind of slow down and spend some time and really learn about themselves and what really makes them happy, instead of going through that rat race of like just doing more and more and more and more and more, and really just trying to like race through life. It's like, what's our finish line? Are we like trying to race through life to die? Like, that's the end of life, right? So why are we sometimes rushing to get more? Like, do we need to just slow down? And I guess that kind of that thought process came to mind right now, because last week actually my daughter was sick, and that really slowed me down with everything. Like, I fell behind about a week. But I'm the type of person who's like, okay, I know that I need to balance my life. I'm going to be there for her. I could put my work stuff on hold. I want to be there for her. Obviously, she's going to recover faster. Her mommy's next to her. And it's also going to make me feel good knowing that I'm a good mom, because sometimes us working moms, we can feel guilty that we're putting too much time in our career and not enough time with our families. So anyways, side story, I got thrown back a week. So I started getting kind of like this anxiety, and I threw her in the stroller. I was just walking around our blocks because that was helping her get fresh air and calm down, because she was nonstop crying. That was a whole other story. But anyway, so as I was doing that, I was getting kind of like anxious, like, oh, like I'm so behind, like I need to go get back to work, I need to do this, I need to do that. And then I remembered a long time ago when I was struggling with, again, really racing through life, and I had to remind myself to slow down. I had come across this book called In Praise of Slowness, okay? And I was like, hold on, I need to listen to like a little video clip of this book, because I know this book kind of put me at peace that it's okay to slow down sometimes, and being home with my sick child is obviously okay for me to slow down, right? So I was like, but I need like these words, I need somebody to remind me this. So I put a little, like, I think there was like a 19-minute clip of that, and I was listening to it, and again, it reminded me how important slowing down is sometimes. Of course, we don't want to be lazy and not do anything with our lives, but there is actually like slow movements in Italy and other parts of the world where people are literally trying to enjoy their lives versus just being crazy, go and trying to just accomplish we don't even know what. But anyway, so I guess that was like a good reminder too, that we do need to slow down sometimes so we enjoy certain things in life. If it's spending time with our child that's sick, but really like getting the joy out of that instead of thinking about, oh, I'm falling so behind in work. Or if it's our taking care of our bodies, slow down, get the sleep you need, get the exercise you need, get the massage you need. Good reminder. I don't know, I lost my train of thought, but that's where we ended up with this. But Kira, she's awesome. I can't wait to connect with her. It's very, very interesting, that episode. It was just kind of mind-blowing how smart she was, how much knowledge she had with putting passion, the human psychology part of it, human behavior part of it, and combining it to like make a work or business out of it. I think that's kind of where I'll leave that.
Well, I want to actually end this episode the same way you end your episodes with your guests.
Oh God, okay.
So I wanted to ask, what's next for the Yegi Project?
Oh boy. Okay. So since you made an executive decision a few weeks ago, we are going to do episodes weekly. So no more seasons. We're not going to take a break. Again, if it doesn't work out, I don't care. Right now, we're just doing as much as we can. We're going to set goals, but we're not going to be so hard on ourselves. So that's kind of where I'm at with life this year. I feel like I am very ambitious. I have lots of goals, but at the same time, I'm almost like, doesn't really matter that much. I'm just gonna live and enjoy life. So I don't know, maybe that'll change in a week from now, but for the past like 3 weeks, that's been my attitude. And it kind of it might be like a scary thing if you know me, because I am kind of crazy. So when I mention it to people, they're like, oh, she's gonna literally pack up and leave tomorrow. But it's been crossing my mind, you know. I've always wanted to do a world tour, and I was like, why not in 2023? Are we 23, right? Oh my God, I forgot what year we're in. But yeah, so that may happen. And maybe we find a way to join the Yegi Project and Yegi Beauty and do a world tour where we can meet our listeners and our students across the world now instead of the country, because in 2019 we did it across the US, and recently I was reminded of that from one of my clients, and I was like, I've always had the goal of doing a world tour. But yeah, I don't know yet, because life's kind of crazy right now with 2 kids. It may be a little extra hard, but where there's a will, there is a way. So not saying I am going to do it, and I'm not saying I'm not, but it is in my mind. So maybe the Yegi Project will join a world tour.
Before we actually end this episode, can you tell us about the giveaway?
Oh my God, yes, I forgot we were doing that. So I'm actually very excited to do a giveaway. I love giveaways. I do believe that we need to give away like at least 10% of our income or our time into other people, because I really think that's how good goes around and how we are able to be happy too as humans, by giving and helping others. Anyways, so we're gonna do a giveaway finally with the Yegi Project, and it's our 1-year anniversary giveaway. We are gonna have 2 lucky winners, and we're giving away 10 books per person, okay? Books are super exciting. These are going to be handpicked books that have really shaped and changed my life into pretty much like the perfect life that I want. Like, don't get me wrong, my life's not perfect every single second of the day, but overall in the grand picture of things, I am very happy with where I am today with my career, family, myself. I feel like I'm at like a peace, happy space, and that's where I want you guys to be. So I'm gonna handpick these books, and 2 lucky winners are gonna win 10 books each. And I hope this also helps you guys along your journey, but make sure to enter and follow. Will we announce it on Instagram, or we're going to announce the details of how to enter?
Everything will be in the description.
Perfect. It'll be in the description. We're still figuring out those details, but make sure to enter, and we look forward to seeing you there. Bye. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.